샤워 따가운 off.
It's so wonderful. It's so wonderful. Oh, so wonderful. It's just a dream. It's so wonderful. It's so wonderful.
So the second one is
That's wild.
Go bananas! Best deals just around the corner.
Yes, those short clips of Sixt gave you a little introduction. I mean, as you can see by all the orange and stuff, it's quite bold. It's very like aggressive and like provocative marketing. And today we want to talk a little bit more about that. And first of all, a little look at the agenda. First we're going to talk a little bit about the history of the company, so you all know like what is the company and what we deal with today. Then I'll explain the needs, wants and demands, as well as the marketing mix. Marian takes on with the STP and SWOT analysis, as well as the assessment of growth opportunities, and at the end we'll do a little conclusion and as well the discussion questions. So for Sixt, Sixt is a German car brand which was founded 1912 in Munich, so it's already quite old. And after being mostly destroyed during the World War II, they expanded in the 1950s and grew constantly since then. They started as a car rental company, but then in the 1980s they went into the leasing market and wanted to cover international markets as well. So they started in Germany, like I explained, but then they moved to the USA and Europe as well in the 1990s. And by 2010 they also introduced new services like car sharing, which is called the Sixt Share. Like I said in the beginning, they had quite a strong brand image with those edgy advertising clips as you've seen before. And for today it's like around 8,000 employees worldwide and available in more than 100 countries now. For the needs, wants and demands, first of all we have the need of mobility. We want to get fast and flexible from A to B, and also we need security and safety during this commute, because obviously we don't want to crash or anything else. And the need for independence is also there, because it's cooler to go whenever you want, wherever you want. For the wants, I think most of us we want to drive a modern car, probably that works. And when we go to leasing, we want to have flexible leasing options, as well as the options to choose between different cars. For example, if you want a small car, maybe an SUV or a limousine or anything like that. And of course, we invest money. We want pricing transparency, so that's also the last one. For the demand, I think renting high-end cars for business trips is probably by the corporate customers. It's a demand from them, because they have the ability to pay for those expensive cars, like you saw with the premium fleet, for example with this BMW. Another demand is the easy car rental for private customers for weekend trips, because they want to do something on the weekend, maybe with their friends and so on. And this leads to the last part, which is car sharing or long-term leasing. We live in a quite flexible world now, and many of us don't want to make such a big investment like a car and spend a lot of money on it. So some of them just want to do the leasing instead of owning a own car. We'll move on with the marketing mix, starting with the 4 Ps first. For the product, I also I gave you some insights before. Car rental, that's what Six started with, and then they went into car sharing, Six Share, car leasing, which is called Six Plus, and then they also have a sort of taxi equivalent like Uber or which is called Six Ride. For the promotion, you've seen the clips before. It's quite edgy, and they're very present on the social media marketing campaigns as well, and also do a lot of cooperations with hotels and airlines. So if you arrive at the airport and you already have the car, like a sort of bundle. Six also has an app, and they use app pushes to do personalized offers. So this is also one part of the promotion. For price, they have individual rates for corporate customers and dynamic pricing as well, as you can see with Airbnb, for example, so prices may differ. And they also have a lot of promotions, gift cards and loyalty programs if you're like a long-term customer. For Place, I said in the beginning, it's global and in over 100 countries. And of course, it's located mostly near airports and big cities where the demand for transportation is high. Also, you have the digital distribution via app. Yes, the second part is now the marketing mix with the 5 C's. Therefore, we have company, customers, competitors, collaborators, and climate. For company, general, it's an international mobility company now with a strong brand image. I mean, you see all the slides, the orange is very, like, it pops out. For customers, we can differentiate between corporate customers and private customers, as well as long-term customers that value fast and easy services. For the competitors, I don't know if you know them, maybe it's just for us in Europe quite known, Hertz and Europcar, but also the indirect competitors like public transport. You can take the bus or the metro instead of driving by car, which is also worth to mention. For collaborators, we've seen the BMW ad, so many car brands collaborate with Six to provide for their cars, but also, like I said, the travel agencies and hotels in terms of booking services and bundles. For climate, I separated this point into 3 different ones. First, ecological. I mean, with climate change, the pressure in CO2 reduction is getting quite high, and then a car business is quite under pressure. For the socio-cultural trend, which is, like I mentioned before, the trend to leasing instead of owning. Many of us live now more in a flat day rent instead of like buying a house or like building a house from the ground up. And for the economic in general, we have rising costs, which is quite known nowadays, with rising energy costs for fuel, for electricity, and also for the cars themselves. Yes, that's my part. Now Marian's going to take over with the STP.
Yes. So moving on to the STP, which stands for segmenting, targeting, and positioning analysis. We're gonna first look at the segmenting. So what criteria Six uses to distinguish the markets and the consumers, the customers on the market. So we've decided to settle on a few criteria. The first one being age, because of course driving a car requires being in age to both have a license, but also be in age to be able to drive. So it's like physical and legal ability to drive. The next criteria is revenue. So are you able to own a car? Are you able to rent a car? And even are you able to go on trips that would require a car? So this is why it's an important criteria. Then next is the use the customer is planning to do with the car. So is it a professional or is it a private use? Then we have lifestyle, which depends on, for example, questions like, does going on vacations matter for the client, or does owning your own car matters more? The next criteria, which is also tied to lifestyle, is family size. For example, someone that doesn't have children will possibly prioritize public transportation. So it's important for Sixt to know if the people have children or not. And then last criteria is house location. So for example, does the person live in a city or does she thus she lives in the countryside where a car is more necessary than in the city. So now that we know all the criteria, we can look at the typical customer, although there is several customers, but we're going to look at the typical customer for Sixt. Who is that? So it's someone that's going to be aged from 25 to 50, because it's going to be someone that is able to drive and that is also not too physically fatigued and that is able to travel via driving. And also it's also slightly linked to revenues, because someone that's very young, like young adults, will most likely not have the money to go on vacation. So that if we move on to the revenues, we can see that the target customer is most likely someone that has average revenues, so that is part of the middle class, because they have sufficient revenues to be able to rent a car or perhaps go on vacation, but maybe not to have their own car, or like a big car or a comfy car. Then for use, as we've mentioned before, it's made both for professional and private uses, because there's like both programs in the company. And then for lifestyle, it's probably going to be someone that is experience oriented and not materialistic. By that I mean someone that will prefer spending quality time on vacation rather than owning its own car, having a payment that is over a few years, and they're going to prefer going on vacation, for example. And then family size, as I've mentioned, is probably someone that's gonna have one or more children, because it's harder to manage children in public transportation rather than having your own car to travel, or like renting a car. And as for location, it's gonna be city dwellers, because they rely on public transportation and feet, walking. So they don't really need a car, especially because it's hard to park, hard to drive, and also quite expensive to own a car in the city overall. So now that we know what the customer target is, we can move on to the positioning part, which is on the next slide. So this is slightly more complicated than a normal perceptual map, but it gives a better idea of how Sixt wanted to position itself on the market. So as we mentioned before, there is many car rental companies across the world, and they all have different benefits in positioning. Here we have Rent-A-Car, Europcar, Hertz, Sixt, and Lotte Rent-A-Car, which is a Korean company. And Sixt, as mentioned earlier again, it's a European company that is expanding, and it's around the middle of the positioning map, or perceptual map. So on the vertical axis, we have comfortability and convenience, which we've chose to put together, because usually a car that is comfortable is also going to be convenient to drive. So that's why they're on the same axis. So as we can see, Sixt is right in the middle. So they offer an average experience, or even slightly more premium than average. And so yeah, they're gonna have very premium vehicles, about the German car excellency and everything. They're gonna be tech forward, they're gonna perform well, and some of them are automatic, they have good navigation systems. So overall, they're ideal for long drives. And as for convenience, Sixt has a lot of agencies across the world in strategic places like airports, where there is a lot of vacationers, and they also offer good services through their intuitive website and app. As for the horizontal axis, which is price, you can see that Sixt is also around the middle, although slightly to the left, so not entirely average, because it's quite affordable. And this is when the second graph is useful, so the one that is on the very right. This represents the range of every car fleet in every company. So to the left is going to be the least expensive car for a week, and to the right is going to be the most expensive car. So we can see that Sixt is not the cheapest, it doesn't start in the beginning, but it's also not the most expensive, which is going to be Hertz, for example. So this is why this graph is useful. So overall, Sixt will be preferred by many thanks to its average pricing, and also good range of pricing, and the great comfortability it provides, and also careless experience. It's important to know. So now we can move on to the SWOT analysis, which is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So on the left you're going to find the internal environment, and on the right you're going to find the external environment. So for the strength, the first one is that they offer a large fleet of premium vehicles at affordable prices, as we've seen before. So their next strength is how tech forward and up to date they are. It's actually one of their differentiating points compared to other companies. They have great car with automatic services navigation. The app also is something that not all car rental companies have, and it brings a sense of convenience and proximity to the user, because if they have a problem or if they want to rent a car, they can just access all services directly on their mobile phone. And then finally, the last strength they have is the numerous partnerships they have with airlines. Because, for example, if you choose some kind of airline, I know the Hungarian airline, for example, has a partnership with them, which means if you both fly with them and rent a car with Six, you're gonna earn miles for your next flight, which means that your flight is gonna be cheaper. So most people will want to look at the partners of the airline they're using. So if we move on to the weaknesses, we can see that Six has very few sustainable options when it comes to cars. They have almost no electric cars, and nowadays customers, they care more and more about the planet usually, and this may be decisive in the future for which company the customer are going to be choosing, especially because other competitors, they do offer some electric vehicles like Hertz and Europcar, which we've already mentioned before. Then the next weakness is the hidden fees and also the variability of the customer service. So through looking at reviews, we saw that not all agencies were rated the same, and not all customer experiences aligned with each other. So this means that some agencies, they provide terrible services while others provide excellent service. So Six might want to invest into internal marketing to try and bring their collaborators and employees to better reflect the image of the map and the image of the brand. And finally, the last weakness is the high fixed cost and the low flexibility of Six, because they're gonna offer a car and it comes with all the added benefits, so navigation, automatic, you can't choose really. You can't bring down the price of a car when you rent it. So now that we know that, we can move on to the opportunities, which are mostly gonna be in expanding the car fleet. So as we've said before, electric vehicles may be decisive in the future car rental market, so they need to consider that. Also, I've noticed that they only have cars that can accommodate up to 6 or 8 passengers, and this might be a problem for them because, for example, let's say you're a friend group, you're 9 or like 10, you want to go on vacations together and you want to do a road trip all together in the same car. Through Six, you're not going to be able to. And I've looked at it, and the car brands that Six hosts, they do offer some vehicles with 10 or 12 seats, which you can drive without a bus license. So they perhaps might want to look into that as well. And then finally, last opportunity is the driverless cars. We all know that AI and driverless cars are developing. Right now, it's not really authorized in the European Union, but if it does, they need to jump on the train. Otherwise, they're going to be behind other competitors. And so finally, for the threats, we've seen that there is increasing competition from indirect competition from public transportation, which is both getting more efficient across the countries and more inexpensive as well. So car rental is losing a bit of value progressively. And finally, as we've said before, there are many competitors on the market, so they need to be differentiated from the other ones. So if we conclude this SWOT analysis, we can see that Six is a very well-established car rental company. They offer a premium and diverse fleet, as well as a comprehensive experience through the partnerships and the app. However, the shifting behaviors and increase of public transportation is a threat that they might want to invest in to expand the fleet to give value back to rental. So now finally, we can move on to the last part, which is the assessment of their growth opportunities. So if you remember, intensive growth is when you invest in existing businesses to make them more profitable. Integrated growth is when you invest into related businesses that like related to your core business, I mean. And finally, diversification growth is when you acquire or invest in a business that is not related to your core business. So in the intensive part, they might want to invest in short-term car rental more through what I've mentioned already, sustainability and passenger number. So this will help in complying with the market demand. And finally, one thing they have already done in the intensive growth is investing in company and truck rental. They do already offer that, and it caters well to the demand. So then if we move on to the integrated growth, they might want to invest into middle and long-term car leasing, because although they do already offer a subscription service, or you can also rent a car for several months through the short-term program, the cost and the rates can be very expensive. So if they want to expand their business, they might want to develop a separate service for longer-term rentals. And finally, something they've already done, but not fully, is expanding on chauffeur services. So they already offer the ability to pay for a one-way route with a chauffeur in a car, or pay a chauffeur hourly, so it goes up to 10 hours, I think. But they might also want to develop on a service. For example, you can rent a car and hire a chauffeur at once for like several days to go on very comfy road trips when you can get the drive experience without driving yourself. This is something I believe that Lotte Car rental already does, for example, on Jeju Island. So they might want to do that as well for other markets in Korea. And finally, for the diversification, you can see it's very empty, but we're gonna come back to that later in the discussion questions, right after this. But one thing we've already noticed that they've already done is the fact that they host a peer-to-peer rental company through Sixture, I believe. And this is a new offer that helps making the sixth brand and company a bit more affordable to some users who might not be able to rent normal cars. And sixth is beneficial. It's beneficial to go through sixth for peer-to-peer rental, because they offer a sense of trust and safety in the process, and it also surfs on the popularity of the peer-to-peer platforms such as Gangan Market, for example, which we've already seen in the past. So now, finally, we can move on to the conclusion. So we're not gonna do a conclusion orally, but you can see on the left you have a quick recap of the presentation, which you can use to think about the discussion questions easier. And so the first question, as I've said before, is do you think that Sixt has opportunities to expand itself via diversification growth? And the second one is Sixt's tech-forward strategy sufficient to maintain its leadership in the car rental sector? That's that.
Is there any volunteer? Thank you for your presentation. I think that my lecture is very important, but I as well your prison. I mean, the student prison also very important because they will prepare a lot of time, right? So is there anybody an idea for question number 2? It's quite difficult. You give me more explanation the first questions.
Like I've said before, the sixth company is already trying to expand their offer to cater to more people. But like for a car rental company, it can be a bit weird, for example, to start selling coffee. So the question is, does your experience as customers, I don't know, do you think that the car rental company can do something else that car rental, or invest in a different business model? I don't know what you're used to in Korea, but maybe you can base yourself on Korea or other countries. Maybe you can base yourself upon what you know about car rental companies to find if there is something in diversification growth, or if on the contrary it's not really necessary to expand more than it already did. That's the
Yeah. Is have any volunteers to question number 1 and 2 possible? 1 and 2 possible. It's quite difficult actually the question, right? Is anybody volunteer to answer this question? Yeah, 은지?
서은진입니다. Like 1 year ago, I have used the car rental system when I was traveling Spain with my family. But I felt that they kind of have uncomfortable things about the insurance. Like for the tourists, non-European and non-American people, they feel very inconvenient about the insurance, whether they got car crash or they got something problem in car, even though it's not their fault. So I think extent they are connected with the insurance companies while having the car accidents. So maybe sixth, if they can have some advantage, maybe they can have some connection with the insurance company for like more international insurance company that is more affordable to tourists, global tourists.
I have the same experience when I've been to the Spain for the conferences. I borrowed the car and an accident, but I have no insurance. So they were just changing the car. That's it. So actually, the system is. I mean, the Korean rental car system, they're good for the insurance things, but I don't know for sixth as good as the insurance system or not. So.
I think they suffer a bit from their globalness because like having insurance everywhere is difficult. But I think it's part of the hidden fees and negative reviews Sixth have received. Like this is like slightly dodgy, but only slightly.
Yeah, and other students? Did you try? Number two, yeah, okay.
Sixties tech forward strategy is necessary, but I think it's not enough to maintain its leadership. Digital tools like apps and library service are essential for premium experience, but they are easily replicable by competitors. So to maintain its leadership, I think GT should expand its personalized service like car rental system for business travel using their technology.
I agree with Chejun. How do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I mean, it's good that Sixt has this tech forward strategy, but we also thought it's not enough to maintain on the market, and that you have to, like expand. And for example, same with the insurance. It's a great thing to really stay present on the market. So I think that's a good point. Yes.
And I think you see in South Korea the drone taxi.
The what? Sorry.
Drone taxi.
No.
No, you never seen?
Doesn't speak to me.
No.
Maybe you've seen it unknowingly.
Yeah, we have, but they're not services in it. But they just prepare drone taxi, for example. So yeah, it will be more the extension for their, their businesses. I don't know, but in the future, and I mean the less than the 10 years, which maybe the U.S. will be starting for this kind of, drone things, right? So we will actually expand it also. Okay. And anything else, or even more information about your ideas? You have ideas? Yes. What 이름 뭐였지? 윤석? Okay, go ahead.
I want to answer number one. Car rental service like with safety and company trust. So it seems difficult for them to expand into the other industries like coffee or entertainment. Even if they expand, it will probably only be to renting car related items or other transportation options like scooter or bikes.
So you mean that way I added for other transportation option together? Yeah. Okay. How do you think that?
I think it's pretty.
They have services like that, additional more the other transportation.
They have
and
trucks.
They have.
They don't. I don't think they have scooters and motorbikes, but I think it could be a great idea because there is some people that enjoy like motorbiking. I mean, but like if they're flying, they're not gonna bring their motorbike with them. So it can be a good idea. Yes.
Yeah, I think so. That's good ideas, right? I mean, in South Korea, we have a huge traffic between after we have a rush hour after 6 between the 7, right? We have a huge traffic. So in these cases, maybe they follow for something the other transportation. I mean, yeah. So that is an idea. So added more the services, right? Okay. And you have another ideas, Lily?
Yeah, I think I'm just sharing my opinion from the POV of India. I think in India we have never heard of Sixt. Like it has never come to mind. Like I mean, looking at these slides, I realized it's expanded to about 100 plus countries and 8,000 plus employees. it's really surprising that I've never heard of it before, and I think no one has. And I think that is because there are already competitors in India. Like we have Ola, just like Kakao Taxi. There is Ola in India, OLA, and
What is Ola?
Ola is like taxis plus car rental. So we can
Taxi
also.
plus rental services.
Yes,
Ah, I see.
and I think if there is an opportunity for diversification, maybe they can collaborate with companies like Ola or Uber in India, and they can. How do you think? I mean, do you think? I mean, this is also a question, but do you think they can, collaborate with companies such as these Kakao Taxi or Uber or Ola? Do you think they can? I don't think so.
I'm not sure about the collaboration
Because
because they're
it's
sort of like
competition,
competitors as
yeah.
well. But I think like for example, I mean India, it's a huge country with like huge population, and that's sort of like a market. If I was the CEO of Sixt, I would try to go in there because it has a lot of potential to give my company a profit. So maybe that's a good point to look where I'm not present in which countries. Yeah.
Like Ola, what is the target audience of Ola? Like price wise, what kind of cars?
I think everybody can use
Everybody?
Ola. Yeah, I mean, it is also affordable, but it can also be expensive. So
Because like they could collaborate because German cars, they're quite renowned across the world, so maybe they can collaborate on that. Like I don't know if they would find their audience. in
maybe
India.
if there is something like that, I saw that Sixt, maybe they can cater to corporate employees, corporate organizations, something that Ola is catering to the general audience of India. Instead of that, they could. It's not exactly diversification, but it is definitely expansion.
And also, if you look at the Korean market, I think a big competitor is Soka. Have you heard about this Soka? No? This is actually the Lotte rental is more smaller. I mean, you go to the Jeju, most of all they using the Lotte, but this is more for older generation. If you wanted to using for just 1 hour, 2 hour, right, then you're using the Soka. It's possible just 1 or 2 hours. I think the more the easy. And then if they collaborate in South Korea market, that will make Sixt and the Soka will work together and possess that. Anything else and other opinions and something to else? Number 1 and 2 questions.
Can you explain how Sixt is tech forward? Because I could not get it exactly. Like, how is it tech forward? I don't know much about cars. I don't know how to drive. But yeah, can you?
I don't really know much about cars either.
So,
But like they overall the cars they offer, they for example have automatic gears, which not like not the normal
is that
gears.
enough?
Like that's one point. They also have like all the navigation system. Basically, they have very fancy car, and as well like through the website and app, they provide this technological feel compared to other cars. Like for example, they can be using a lot of like black and bright colors, and like I've looked at other websites, for example, Hertz, and it doesn't. It is true that there is like a different vibe to it. You feel like I don't know. You feel technological when you look at Sixt overall.
And Sixt was also one of the first car brands that brought the app, the online platform, which I mean usually if you go to the airport, then you go at the offline store and you just rent the car because you're like there, and they sort of went first
Just
with that.
for the online system rather than the offline, right? It's Soka have actually the same system only for the online.
I think especially for the number 1, maybe some weird answer, but recently I saw some kind of things about car ads. So like when there's truck, you can see some like advertisements in front of the truck or the surface of the truck. Like I heard that you guys that the Sixt has like acquired the truck field. So maybe not only the truck field, they have lots of agencies in the European region and a bit everywhere. So maybe they can expand themselves for like some advertising, like because the drivers, they can see some ads that is stick to the cars or truck. Yes, that's the point.
Yeah. Very good point.
Yeah, actually in South Korea, you see the Kakao taxi that have advertising at the top, right? So we're just beginning 50 years ago about that advertising system. So I think they see on a lot of money. I mean, they're very profitable. So I think the Lincoln idea is very realistic actually, and then it's possible to diversification grows for their profit. Okay, and is it possible in Germany?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. We're starting to have those like advertisements on like every space you can usually use. So that's probably a good point. Yeah.
Okay, and any other student opinions? Yeah. 이름이 뭐였더라? 반장님 미안해.
서정이요. Like,
정인이? Okay, go ahead.
I agree with the technology is definitely one of the six advantage, but in my experience when I was in US, like I booked the car, but the day before the booking day, they just canceled with no explanation. So I think like diversification should just mean entering the new market. They have to like improve their own service. So I think that's their problem. So I agree with that tactical or tactic strategy is suspicious, but I think they have to improve their service first.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my opinion.
Yeah, makes sense to first like make your existing business good and then go for the
Yeah,
diversification.
so I was kind of shocked because in Korea there's no like they have like explanation if there's a like circumstance like that, but there's no explanation and just cancel and we have to stay in the hotel. So I think that's the problem of the six.
That's also what I think, because like I've looked at a few reviews and some people are very happy with it. Like some people are just like, I had to pay this, they cancelled on me, they did that, and you're like, so when you want to book something, usually the negative reviews, they come up first. So you need to get rid of them, you need to be better at the core business. So yeah, I do agree that they need to focus on like intensive growth of bettering their current businesses.
So no more ideas? Okay, thank you for your one more. Okay, go ahead.
I just have
Yeah.
a question. Like, you can explain more about how does the system operates? Like, if you want to rent the car, you have the website or the app. So you choose a brand of car you want to rent, and you need to pay first, or like after you.
I didn't look at the pricing
Tell me.
policy, but like most logically they would require you to pay a part of it like when you book it or like a few weeks in advance, and then when you like 1 or 2 days before you pay fully, I think, because usually that's what they do to be sure that their clients come. I worked in a rental company before, and usually they require a bit first and the rest of it later.
And every car has the GPS, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think.
Can you explain more about the secondary offers? Like I didn't understand like the share, the plus, the ride, and the truck rental. And can you tell if like they already have diversified into taxi stuff, or they can? Is that an opportunity that they can explore as a brand?
Maybe it's easier if you go to the slide of product.
Okay.
As you can see, car rental is the main business. Then you can also sixth share, which is car sharing. So
Like peer-to-peer.
So it's carpooling.
the peer-to-peer is a different one. The car sharing is actually car pooling. Yes, you hop with other
It's
people.
like BlaBlaCar, right?
Sort of, yes.
Yeah, sort of, right?
Yeah. And then you have car leasing, which is leasing, of course, and then you have the taxi equivalent, which is the last part of the question. So you also have the opportunity to, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, that's it. Yeah. Okay, thank you for your presentation.